Hi, I'm Bill Schmick. Welcome to 30 Minutes. Hi, I'm Bill Schmick. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the growing cost of owning a pet. And I've got a guest today, Titus Schmick. Titus will be back at the end of the show. But back to the subject, the record number of pets here in America. It's exploded. Did you know that in 84 million households in the United States, there is some kind of pet? That's almost 70% of all American households. When you talk about dogs and cats, what does that amount to? 70 or 80 million dogs and 74 to 86 million cats are living with us today. Now, that's also not counting your birds, your fish, your hamsters, any other kind of small pets, and I don't want to exclude them from this show either. And we're spending a lot of money on those pets. How much? We're spending twice the amount of money that we did 20 years ago. Why? Well, what's behind the growth? Well, people like me. My wife and I were empty nesters. You probably are too. You may be. Anyway, what we're trying to do is replace the kids that left. Create a ruckus in the house, loud noises, barking, exercise, whatever we did with the kids, now we're doing with our pets. But beyond that, people within society today are feeling more and more isolated. Have you ever been to in a train or in a doctor's office? What do people do? They're sitting there with their iPhones or their iPad, right? They're not, no eye contact, nothing. So we're walking through society today looking down, not looking at anyone, not looking at communication, because we're looking for safe relationships. And as a result of that, we're becoming increasingly isolated. Well, what about the unadulterated love of a pet? No strings attached, right? A pet will love you no matter who you are, what you look like, how long you're on your iPhone. In fact, if you're on your iPhone like I am, or my wife is, the dog will let you know by barking because it wants attention. The other thing is, it's a big word, anthropomorphizing our animals, our pets. What does that mean? That means that more and more of us are attributing human characteristics to our pets. More on that later. Anyway, I looked up at the ASPCA. They've got a lifetime cost of pets sort of chart. It's for, you know, people that have never had a pet before, and before they make that big step, they want to figure out how much that pet is going to cost them for their lifetime. Well, as you might imagine, small dogs cost the least. Okay, you can expect in your first year to spend about $800, and after that, about $400 a year. Again, this is bare bones, because they're thinking that a small dog lasts in general about 14 years, and so the total amount of money you may pay for a small dog for 14 years is $6,000. Now, take these numbers with a grain of salt. Medium dogs, they're more expensive, as you might think. They're about $1,115 a year the first year, and then about $550 a year every year after that. Their life expectancy is about 11 years, so they're not that much more expensive than a small dog. They come in at about $500 more, at $6,500 for the life of the dog. And then there's the big dogs. As you could imagine, they're more expensive. $1,500 you're probably going to be spending in your first year, and then after that about $700 a year. That's about $8,000 over the lifetime of the dog, because they don't live as long as small and medium dogs. But the cats, if you got a cat, an average cat will cost you about $640 for the first year, $500 a year after that, and the lifetime is about $7,670, and you can guess why, because the lifetime of a cat is far longer than a dog, 15 years. Now, why does that first year cost you so much? Well, you've never had a dog or a cat before. The first thing is spaying, neutering, vaccinations, licenses, and then the fun stuff, leashes, toys, beds, all sorts of startup costs. And it depends on who you are. I mean, you can just go crazy in that first year for things for your dog or your cat. Now, what I want to caution you about is none of these estimates include anything like routine medical cost. If you've got any sort of health problems with your pet, all of this, forget, because the medical cost could double, quadruple the amount that dog cost you or that cat cost you over its lifetime and also per year. Now, the biggest expense, as you might imagine, is food, okay? And of course, the bigger the pet, the more they eat in general, okay? Last year, we spent, I would say almost $58.5 billion on our pets. And most analysts estimate that this year, that'll be about $60 billion or more. And the emphasis there is on more. Food, as I said, was the most expensive part of that $58.5 billion. We roughly spent $23 billion this year on food alone. Treats alone cost $2.5 billion for Americans. Now, after food, what I would think is the most expensive is vet care. That's about $15.2 billion. And vet care, it's increased about 80% over the last decade. And we'll get into why that was the case and is the case. And then again, you could say this is part of vet care, but it is medical care. Over-the-counter medicines and medications and supplies, you know, your tick medication, your heart medication, things that you might have to take every month, for, you know, skin care things. It comes to almost $15 billion, $14.39 billion total. But other services is where the real growth rate is coming from in pets. Other services has gained 8% a year. And I think this year people are expecting that to improve to about 9 or 10% a year. It's exploding. What are other services? Grooming, training your dog, boarding, pet sitting. What, you might say? Well, yes. Just grooming itself has become an explosion. I think there's probably as many dog and cat hairdressers as there are human hairdressers, and they're even more money. Training. I know with us, our own dog, we spent the first year, we probably took that dog to 3, 4, 5 different training classes. And yeah, training has gotten to points of levels. So there's the beginner, there's the intermediate, there's the advanced, and then there's the sort of what I'll call tricks. I mean, having your dog jump through hoops. We actually had our dog in a course of diving, pool diving, water diving, where there's a competition between dogs and they dive into a pool and people measure how far they've dived. There's classes for that. Boarding and pet sitting, very important for us, I will confess. Both myself and my wife is actually my boss. She's the president of my company. Well, we're busy. We have, between the two of us, we're either at the office or we're traveling. And we've got a dog. So basically what we're doing is we're getting that dog a pet sitter, or we don't board them, we pet sit. We actually have a woman who will come over, and when we travel, she'll stay at our place with the dog. Okay, this woman, she's a great woman, wonderful with dogs, and she'll take our dog out hiking with a pack of other dogs 2 or 3 days a week for 2 or 3 hours. She'll pick the dog up with the others, put him in the car, drive him out to some beautiful forest or whatever. The dogs go swimming, do this and the other thing, come back exhausted. And she'll do that 2 or 3 times a week. I'm telling you that this is a fantastic business if you were looking around for a business to start. Not much capital to begin with. All you really need to do is love animals and have the human touch when it comes to the owners. But I know a woman actually that started in 2008. She was a short order cook. didn't have a job, decided she would start picking up animals like dogs and so forth, taking them out, walking them, so forth. Well, by 2012, she had enough money for her own home. She bought a big place, put a fence around it, and she's now got a great grooming and boarding place, and it's packed. So it's a good business if you're interested in that sort of thing. As I said, though, other services is going to continue to outpace every other expense as far as the growth rate for animals. As I said before, food. Food is probably your most expensive item, and it will continue to be as far as your pets are concerned. Now, back in the day when I was growing up, we had dogs, we had boxers actually, and we basically fed that dog table scraps. That's maybe once in a while we had some sort of dog food that we mixed in, but it was table scraps. But by the 70s, dog food itself started to become popular. And if you remember at that time, you can buy a can of, I won't name the brand, but you could, for 7 or 8 cents a can. And that's what your dog got, or your cat. Today, that same 7 or 8 cents a can is now $3 to $4. Nothing's changed in it other than the price. But we're living in the age of designer dog and cat food, okay? Really, the madmen on Madison Avenue have discovered food for our animals. I could just see Don Draper out there pitching his newest ad for dog food. Your dog is what he eats, or your cat is what she eats. These human dietary trends have taken us by storm. Social and consumer habits that we humans follow have been neatly translated into things like doggy diets, organic cat treats, and bark boxes. You know what a bark box is? I bought my wife a year subscription to a place that sends her a box of surprise cosmetics and things each month for a year. She loved it. Now they have these things for your dog and for your cat. They're called bark boxes or something similar for cats. Anyway, the question is this worth it? Okay, these new diets, these new, actually take a look at these. I brought some here that I picked off the shelves. Free range, byproduct free, organic premium brands, they can command double, triple the amount of the cost of a 20-pound bag of, well, let's say it, Purina dog food. That's basically your run-of-the-mill dog food. People have just bought these image products. They're just flying off the shelves, no matter what the price. One of these that our dog actually ate was a dog food by a company called Blue Buffalo. Okay, now, for the last year, Blue Buffalo had been embroiled in a controversy because Purina, which is one of the competitors, and Blue Buffalo is no small company. Okay, it's a $1 billion company, ships 10 million bags of dog food a year, national brand, very expensive. We bought it, as I said, for our dog because it was so good for the dog. Well, their competitor, Purina, actually took a look at the ingredients of Blue Buffalo's food and discovered that, in fact, even though the advertising had said that there were no byproducts included in it, they found, guess what? Yep, chicken byproducts. And all of that free-range, healthy food, in fact, there were. Well, Blue Buffalo denied it, court case, on and on. And just very recently, they've finally had to admit, yes, that there are byproducts in their food. They say they don't know how it got there. This was a fault of the supplier, probably in China, who knows? But here's the bottom line. When you're looking at these high-priced dog foods and cat foods, the FDA has no time nor inclination to be inspecting all of these high-priced animal pet foods as they come onto the shelves. It's buyer beware, okay? They have a hard enough time inspecting human food, let alone to get the stamp of imprimatur on pet foods. And the other thing is that the only way you're really going to protect yourself or anyone else, as far as the law is concerned, is, as Purina did, sue them for false advertising. That's about the only way. So read those bags carefully, read the ingredients carefully, but honestly, you never know. I mean, a lot of these byproducts that are in all these animal pet foods are coming from China, and we all know that there's no real quality control in China. So, as I said, buyer beware. Second, most expensive part of owning a pet, as I said, was medical cost. Almost $16 billion a year is spending, like going crazy, and like human medical costs, they're going through the roof. And that's understandable, given that just like in the human world, in the pet world, you're seeing medical technology and service breakthroughs every day. Chemotherapy, radiation, ultrasounds, biopsies, surgeries, they're all readily available. When I was a kid, you couldn't find that stuff. You'd have to drive to a different state half the time for a hospital, an animal hospital that could do it. But today, you've got a vet hospital on every corner of America, and all of that costs money. As a result, health insurance, which was probably non-existent for your pet 10 years ago, has exploded. It's growing 13% a year, and that's a whole other story, health insurance. That could take another half hour of my time. Just say that it's growing, and for some people it really makes sense, but it is expensive. And why is this happening? Well, I would argue to you that the status of pets within your family are changing from when you were a kid, okay? They're becoming dogs and cats are becoming as important as your kids, or almost as important. Now, most of us recognize that's a big change from our own childhoods when dogs, for example, could be in a doghouse out in the yard for 3/4 of the year. Okay, as I said, table scraps were good enough for a dog. Some of them rarely came into the house. And cats, the same thing. I mean, the cats were left out at night and didn't come back until the dawn. That's the way it used to be. But we recognize now that that's a big change from our own childhood. There's a blurred line occurring between our children and our pets. And you're no longer, for the most part, pet owners. More and more of us identify as being pet parents, okay? For example, what's your pet's birthday? I'll bet half, if not 3/4 of you at least could identify the month and maybe the year. A lot of us will recognize the actual day. And what do you do on your pet's birthday? Yeah, you buy him a present, that's right, or her a present, don't you? And maybe even more, all right? So you're buying that. What about Mother's Day? What about Father's Day? Who gets a card from their pet? How about the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah? That's right, more and more of us, it's a big deal. And as you notice that sometimes in the card department, more and more you're seeing pet cards, okay? Now, my dog's smart, but I don't think he can read yet. Nonetheless, have you ever gone into somebody's house or office and seen photos on the wall? Or scrapbooks full of pet pictures? Yes, you have. Do you have a pet photo on your phone or in your wallet? I'll bet you do. Right there next to your kids. Actually, 79% of people polled talk more about their pet than politics. And 55% of the people polled discussed topics that include their dog rather than their human friends. And almost half of the people said that they talk more about their dog than they do about their jobs. 57% of the people polled say they and their partners spend more time chatting about their pets than their sex. Guilty. There was a recent poll by Purina Pet survey. These are honest, this is what they said. Purina did the pet survey and it said 61% of women tell their dog about their problems. 31% of women feel their dog is a better listener than their partner. Probably in my case, that's true. 24% of men use their dog to talk to good-looking women in the park. And 14% of men say their dog showed them more affection than their loved ones. Not me, but I know men like that. So, all in all, what am I saying? This anthropomorphizing, this attributing human characteristics to our pets is not going to stop. Believe me, it isn't. But there's a downside to it. The downside is that what'll happen and what is happening is we're spoiling our pets, and that's not really healthy. Have you seen anxious dogs and cats? Their nervous system is out of whack. They're always in their mother's arms. Yeah, it creates unhealthy pets, okay, with all sorts of physical ailments. All of this anthropomorphizing also will ruin a good trained dog. I've seen it happen. They go from well-trained into spoiled brats. Things, therefore, that are not necessarily good for animals but are good for human beings, we have to be careful in this, okay? Enough is enough. Nonetheless, I love my dog. My wife loves our dog. We love it. We're not going to really change it. And we're going to bring them back in here for a taste test. So hang in here. If you recall, I had 3 bags of treats on the table. Those are treats I picked up on the way here. And what I did is I just indiscriminately went into a pet store and a food supermarket, and I picked a very high-priced brand, which is here on my right. It's $66.29 a pound. It's advertised as being freeze-dried pure chicken. It's supposed to be safety tested, whatever that means, and it's a dog treat. Now, I could tell you that you could buy a pound of chicken thighs for $2.29 or $2.30 and cook them yourself, chop them up, and you'd have the same thing. But this is the designer brand, $66.29 a pound. Here in the middle, $2.50 a pound. It's your typical processed dog food. The manufacturer's been making these things since 1908. If you look on the side of the box, you know, it's this long, full of ingredients, including byproducts and processed stuff. And it's supposed to hold 12 vitamins and minerals, $2.50 a pound. And there, over there, the supermarket, it's $1.40 a pound. What is it? It's carrots. Well, carrots, you say, dogs and carrots? Well, actually, a carrot has vitamin A, C, calcium, iron, and $1.29 a pound versus, what did I say, $66 and change, and in the middle, $2.50. Now, I wonder what a dog would really take as a treat. Which one would the dog like most? The designer treat, the old milk bone, or carrots? Let's find out. Which one do you like? This is the designer. Okay. Oh, he likes the designer treat. He finished that right up. Okay. And Titus, how about the next one? Oh, so far, so good on $66 a pound. I guess he could eat a whole pound right now. Titus, what about that one? Those are the milk bones. Are they delicious? Do you like them as much as the $66 chicken? It seems that he does. And then Titus, how about the carrots? Try a carrot. You know, $1.40 a pound. He seems to be eating them just as avidly as he did the $66.29 a pound or the $2.50 milk bones. So I guess, viewers out there, it's your choice. You can buy your carrots or you can buy your freeze-dried chicken. But as far as your pet's concerned, he's just going to look for more.